Hey, my name is Carrington Wilson, and I will be sharing with you today. So we'll jump in. It's important for you to first know a little bit of context about me so you'll understand why I've chosen the passage I have and the message I have for you all. Basic information sheet. I am 26 years old. I am from Grambling, Louisiana. I'm the youngest of two. I have an older brother who's 21 months older than me. We grew up in the house with both of my parents, love them dearly. They're still together and thriving in Grambling. I went to Jackson State for 2 years, which is an historically Black college and university in Jackson, Mississippi. And then I transferred to the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, go Cajuns, IE, and I graduated from there. And that was about 4.5 years ago. And when I graduated, I moved out to Washington to pursue my dreams of working in youth ministry and learning more about the youth ministry world. So I worked at Sambica for a year as an intern, and I then went on to go to Seattle Pacific University and study and get my master's in reconciliation and intercultural studies. So that is the lens that I look at the Bible with, for what does God's reconciling word have for us. So a little bit more that some is basic information, you can see it, and some is not so basic, but characteristics that shape my identity. As you can see, I'm a Black woman. I am 26, so I'm considered a young adult, and I work for a nonprofit. So I'm broke. I am also single, and I am highly educated. So those are a little bit of shaping factors about me and what makes my identity. But those are not all. That's not the full story. Those are just some characteristics. Okay, so we'll jump in. When I was first asked to speak, I was stoked. I've never been to Women's Weekend, and this was just an honor to be asked to speak to you all. But I will say that it came with a lot of fear. I'm 26. I didn't know what I had to offer or what I have to offer a group of intelligent, knowledgeable, God-fearing women. I'm young. I'm still learning. And I was just riddled with doubt and guilt, shame, and I completely dismissed myself before I even got into it. But I said yes, because God said, hey girl, I've given you a word and I've given you a story, and I say that you got something to say because I have something to say. So I am merely acting as a vessel on God's behalf. And as I was thinking, what could I possibly say? What could be something that these women who'll be watching all over the world would want to hear? I've been sitting in the story of Mark 5, which is the story of Jairus, the bleeding woman, and the dead girl. I've been sitting in that story for probably about 2 years now, and I think that God has placed a new message in me every time I look at this story and have the opportunity to share what is God speaking to me, what is God teaching me. And that's what I'm going to share with you all. So the identity characteristics I've named before the story that we're about to get into, God says that this is for us. So we're going to jump in. When I first encountered this story as a young adult woman, I was a little confused. It's like, God, why this story? Why is this something that you want to place on my heart? And when in my first year, so last year, in training, we got the honor to watch other theologians speak on identity and God's characteristics. And I chose to watch Christina Cleveland. She is a brilliant theologian and my biggest hero, besides my mom. But when Christina Cleveland gave this message, she was speaking to a congregation of elderly elderly believers, majority white context. And I had never heard the story brought to life in the way that she did. And what she did was she colored and brought context to this story and brought it to our culture. And even though she was giving this miles away to a different congregation, the message that she pulled out of racial reconciliation, racial awareness, and identity stuck with me because it brought me life and it showed me a part of Jesus and a part of God that I don't think I fully let set in. And that's what I want to share with you today. That's what God says, like, hey, I need you to stay in this text and you're speaking to women. So let's look at the women. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the women, or the woman, shall I say. So in Mark chapter 5, verse 21, it starts like this. When Jesus went into the boat back to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him. A leader of the synagogue named Jairus came there, saw Jesus, and fell at his feet. He begged Jesus, saying again and again, "My daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and lived." So Jesus went with him. A large crowd followed Jesus and pushed very closely around him. Among them was a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered very much from many doctors and spent all the money she had, but instead of improving, she only got worse. When the woman heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his coat. She thought, if I can just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Instantly, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed from her disease. At once, Jesus felt power go out from him. So he turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" His followers said, "Look how many people are pushing against you. And you ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus continued looking around to see who had touched him. The woman, knowing that she was healed, came and fell at Jesus' feet. Shaking with fear, she told him the whole truth. Jesus said to her, "Dear woman, you are made well because you believed. Go in peace, be healed of your disease." While Jesus was still speaking, some people came from the house of the synagogue leader. They said, "Your daughter is dead. There is no need to bother the teacher anymore." But Jesus paid no attention to what they said. He told the synagogue leader, "Don't be afraid, just believe." Jesus let only Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, go with him. When they came to the house of the synagogue leader, Jesus found many people there, making lots of noise and crying loudly. Jesus entered the house and said to them, "Why are you crying and making so much noise? The child is not dead, only asleep." But they laughed at him. So after throwing them out of the house, Jesus took the child's father and mother and 3 followers into the room where the child was. Taking hold of the girl's hand, he said to her, "Talitha kum," which means, "Young girl, I tell you, stand up." At once the girl stood upright and began walking. She was 12 years old again. Everyone was completely amazed. Jesus gave them strict orders not to tell people around about this. Then he told them to give the girl something to eat. I love this story. So in this story, we'll bring it to life. We'll put it in our context. We'll get to the town before Jesus shows up. Jairus, a synagogue leader, he is up there, probably like tier 2 of important people. Jairus, his daughter is dying, and though he is considered the highest or one of the leaders of the time, a powerful and authoritative man, he can't heal his daughter. But he is privy to Jesus coming before anyone else does, or most people, because he's a synagogue leader. He is a leader. So he is privy to inside information and important facts before anyone else. So Jesus meets him at the water when he's getting off. And he says, "Jesus, Come quick, my daughter's dying. I need you to touch her. And Jesus is like, all right, cool. First come, first serve. Let's get it. Let's go get your daughter well. Or let's go see what we could do about your daughter, let's say. And as Jairus and Jesus are walking through the town on the way to Jairus' house, Jesus, of course, has his disciples, his 12 closest friends, also in this time possibly known as powerful men, because Jesus has his own posse. So there's Jesus, his 12, and then Jairus, and as we see later on in the story, Jairus has his boys with him too. So there is this posse of important men walking towards Jairus' house. And as they go through the town, more people are like, hey, that's Jesus, that's Jairus. Oh, let's get close. They want to be close to the power. They want to be close to the man that is the man of the hour. So more people start filling in as they get wind of the information of Jesus's presence. So Jesus's posse, Jairus's posse, and then the rest of the town starts to go in. First come, first served. I'm sure the resources played into it so that those who had the means to just get up and go got up and left. And important people and citizens are gathering to see Jesus. And then we pan out. And farther out than Jairus, his people, the other citizens who hear, and as they're hearing, there is a woman out there who we find out she's been bleeding for 12 years. And in this time, we know, we've read the story, this is not new to us, but we know that if you are unclean, or if you have a disease, anything, any ailment that disqualifies you in a way, you were cast out of the city. And this woman has been bleeding for 12 years. We don't know why, we don't know what's happening. Bibles say she's hemorrhaging, so she is just bleeding profusely for 12 years. We know the pain. But she's been cast out. And if she comes around, you're supposed to yell, unclean, unclean, and you get out of the way. You avoid her like the plague because you can't touch her or else you get marked unclean. So she is marked with like being able to spread this terrible hemorrhaging. We know that she has spent all of her money trying to get healed from, I'm sure there are doctors, there are other priests and synagogue leaders who have tried to pray the blood away. I'm sure they have remedies, some make-home remedies, some family, everything. Nothing has worked. So this woman is broke, familiar. And she then gets wind, Jesus is in town. And after being so downtrodden, so cast out, so disqualified, because she is a woman who is marked as unclean, she has no money, we don't see that she has a husband, she is counted out. She's counted out, but she hears, and she has the audacity to believe that if I can just touch his clothes, I will be healed. She doesn't even want to talk to him. She don't want to ask him anything. She just wants to touch a piece of cloth attached to him, attached to the God, the Messiah that's among them, to see if she can be healed. And I imagine she's like terrified because she's going to have to go through posses of people to get to the main event without being discovered. So as she's making her way through the crowd, she's probably ducked down, she's covered so no one identifies her and they don't do more harm to her because she's in the city limits where she's not supposed to be. But she's trying to get to Jesus. So she's, maneuvering through the crowd. She's going in and she gets to his cloak. And by now I imagine she's like super close to the ground. Because she's got a bob and weave, but she gets in and she touches his cloak. And immediately she's healed. Immediately. And I bet as she's healed, she's like, okay, now I got to get out of here because I know what happened to me, but no one else does. And I'm still marked as the woman who was in city limits and she's not supposed to be. And I'm no one knows that I'm clean. So that she's trying to peer out. Jesus says, almost simultaneously as she is healed, it's like, hey, who touched me? And Jesus' disciples around him like, Jesus, we're in a crowd of people. We're right here. Jairus' people are right there. The citizens are here and still coming. Everyone's touching everybody. We are shoulder to shoulder. We are close in. We are, we're all touching you. And it says, but Jesus continued looking around to see who touched him. And I like this because the child that I am, I like to think that Jesus has like Superman superpowers. So he's got this X-ray vision and he's already surveyed the crowd. He knows who's around him. And he's got this vision that says like, everyone's kind of, it's just a skeleton. There's no power shift. Everyone, like, I know who they are. I know who they are. No one's power has changed. No one's faith meter immediately I can see has changed, but I know that someone touched me because I felt the power go out. So he's like, nah, someone around me is different. Who touched me? And it says the woman, knowing that she was healed, came and fell at Jesus's feet. As this woman's trying to make her way out, she gets discovered by the one who she touched. I'm sure she touched many other people in this crowd, but the one who healed her is now asking who touched him. And she is probably scared in her boots. If it was me and I was just trying to get to Jesus, I'd touch him and I'd be like, who got away with it? And I'd be tiptoeing back. I'm out. No one found out. I get to go and try to make this. I get to go live changed or whatever. And then she's caught. She's frozen with fear. Like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? Everyone's kind of stopped now. So I'll freeze. And it says, shaking with fear, she fell at his feet and she told him the whole truth. We're going to keep going because it's about to get good. Jesus said to her, dear woman, you are made well because you believed. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. When I was asked to talk, I told you before I was scared. I disqualified myself. I am broke. I'm Black. I am a woman. I am single. I felt like the outcast. So I really resonate with this woman. And what inspires me most is the woman in Jesus's posture when the healing takes place. Jesus stops, he looks, and when the woman steps forward, or when the woman admits what has happened, she tells him the whole truth. The whole truth. And when I give this talk, when I usually look at this, the woman's already on the ground. It says the woman, knowing what had happened, came and fell at Jesus's feet. She is already on the ground. And because we know Jesus, because I believe that when I fall to the ground, Jesus is going to come down there with me and he's going to sit there because he does it. He stops and he listens to her. And I imagine that Jesus and this woman are both on the ground. Jesus is powerful. He is the most powerful being in the universe at this point because he's Jesus. He is God and he is man and he is here in this text. And he knows that someone has touched him. As he's asking who touched me, he can look around and see no one immediately around me is different, but something is different about me where is the change? And when Jesus sees this woman who has been healed, the faith meter goes off. And he's like, oh, and this woman, what I love about this is this woman has the audacity to tell him, Jesus, to tell Jesus the whole truth. As a woman, we are not meant to be seen. We're meant to be seen, not heard. We're not meant to take up space. But this story tells us something different because society says women are supportive. We are not usually the main event. We are second fiddle. And that's something that I've experienced personally as a woman, not only in ministry, but in the academy, and I've been in service. There are designed places for women to be, and talking to Jesus ain't one of them. But this woman who has been outcast for 12 years, this woman who is without means and resources. She doesn't have a husband because she wasn't escorted into the crowd with a man. Nothing. It's just this woman. She doesn't look the part. She is socially marked with the scarlet hue of unclean. But this woman has the audacity to tell Jesus the whole truth. Excuse me. She, at Jesus's feet, with Jesus on the ground, down low. I just imagine her and Jesus are just sitting, both crisscross applesauce on the ground. And this woman is saying, Jesus, when I was born, I was fine. I was good. And somewhere along the way, 12 years ago, something changed. And I have been told I am unclean. I have been discounted. I have been talked over. I have been cast out. I have been no. I've just been a no. And I've lived trying to find a yes. I've gone to doctors. I've gone to priests. I've gone everywhere. And I've been told no for the last 12 years. And I have been struggling. And you were my last hope. You were the one who I thought could change that and who I knew could change that. So I just wanted to touch your clothes. I just wanted to see if it would work. And it did. Jesus, I am healed. I am not bleeding anymore. Inside, I feel different. I feel good, and I feel whole again. And it's because of you. And I didn't want to stop you. I didn't want to take away from what was going on. I didn't want to be noticed. I just wanted to be healed. And you did that. And then you caught me. And you caught me. And Jesus's response is to listen, to take time to listen to her, because this woman had the audacity to share her story of faith and hope and healing and change that Jesus brought. She had the audacity to tell Jesus to take up space and to share her whole truth. And Jesus says, "Dear woman, you are made well because you believed. So go and tell everyone." And I imagine that as he is saying that, as he is saying, "Dear woman, you're made well because you believed," look around. Others get to see what it looks like for you to have audacious faith and to take up space and to share your story, your truth, the truth of who I see you to be. You are a woman with a story. You're a woman with a purpose. You are a woman who believes. And because you had the faith to sit here and tell me everything, others get to know. The people who are most powerful around you are listening because you believed, and then you shared, you confessed, you told, you took up space, and your faith has made you well. But look, it looks like it's spoken to other people, because for the first time in 12 years, possibly for the first time in your life, you have all of these eyes, all of the power, all of the authority on you, on your truth, on your story, on your life. And you gave me that story, and you gave them that story. So go tell everyone, more than who just sees right now, but go tell everyone of your faith, your audacious faith. And then it skips down. We get to Jairus's place, the story, the little girl. Jesus is like, yo, she's just asleep, chill. Hey, baby girl, get up. Let's get her some food. It was beautiful. But after that, he told them, don't tell anyone. And I think it's powerful because Jesus brought a few select people into the room with the girl and simply touched her, and she's alive. But for this woman who's got a 12-year story as well, he says, go tell everyone. And I think that the word that I want to share, the word that God has given to me through this story, is that we women, we are not dismissed. The truth or the facts of what society says of women, that is not the truth of God. Because if that were the truth, this story wouldn't have made it into the Bible. We wouldn't have spent over half of this parable talking about the woman's faith, the woman's transformation, the woman's healing. And I think it's powerful because this woman took up space. I don't know about y'all, but I often feel like my voice is unimportant, like I don't have anything important to say, that my story is not as grand. It is just a not comparatively to the power, the authority, the bigness of others. But the truth is that Jesus says right here, you're made well because you believe. You are important because I say you're important. And you know who told me you were important? God, the Father, my Father, your Father. Woman, you are important. You're important enough to listen to. So when you get the opportunity, share the whole truth. Share the whole truth about what God has done for you to everyone. Because just as this woman is amidst all of this power and glory, I imagine the guys weren't sitting there like, we'll wait, we'll just take our time, you go ahead. No, these men are probably like, bruh, we got somewhere to go. Like, Jesus, come on, why is she even talking? She's not even important. What does she have to say? Like, she's unclean. You can't even touch her. She touched you. Ooh. But like, all of these negative voices and words are being cast out as this woman takes up space to tell the whole truth, to tell the truth that God has healed her. And God says that she is good, she is clean, she's beautiful, she is strong, she is important. He says that because he stops and listens to the whole truth. And she is made well, and she is supposed to go tell everyone, what God did for her. I want that to be a message for us. I want us women, us believing, fearless, powerful women to have the audacious faith to tell the whole truth, to know the truth that we are important, our stories are important, our healing is important, and that there is enough room for us, there is enough power for us to share the truth about what God is doing in our lives, to share the truth about who God says we are. Because when we internalize the message and the truth of who God says we are, we get to tell others and affirm others, hey, you know what? There is a truth in you that we need to hear about. We get to empower others to share. This story is a message for us because as women, we are given the opportunity to have audacious faith, to reach out and touch Jesus's cloak, and then to listen, to sit with Jesus and to tell the whole truth. We are given the authority, we're given the support, we're given the power to take up space and to have our voices valued, because God does that for us. God did that for this woman. God did that for the little girl. She didn't talk, but he did it. And God reminds me of that every day, every day. And I can't help but think that this is an opportunity that when the voices of the world, when the facts around us say something different than the truth that God has given us, God says, hey, believe in the truth that I have told you, and then tell that truth to others. I wonder what lies we're holding on to, what facts we believe are true about who we are, and how we can let the message of this woman and her audacious faith to take up space and to tell truth. What can we gain from that? Go in peace, be healed of your disease, because you believed. I want us to believe in ourselves and believe the truth that God says, that our voices are important, our stories are important. You are important. Amen. Thank y'all.